Good morning and welcome to Unity, the place where we know and we practice that God is good all the time, and that we come together in spiritual community to engage in that practice of goodness, of love, of power, of grace together with one another. We are here awakening hearts and minds so that we can make the world a better place. If you're with us for the first time today, welcome. It's a special place, and I am grateful to welcome you into this powerful community of love. Monica will have some information a little bit later about how you can get connected up with us, but right now I wanted to welcome you in. If you're not with us for the first time today, I welcome you too, because you are part of our conscious spiritual community. And we have a few folks in leadership today that I would like to introduce to you right now. First, our prayer chaplains today are Jan Kalin and Lynn Zeller. They are powerful prayers, so you'll want to get connected up with them after the service. We take about a 3-minute break at the end. All you have to do is stay online, and Lynn and Jan would be happy to support you in prayer immediately following our gathering today. I also want to welcome our board member. Our board host today is Rita Schwarting. Hello, Rita. Thank you for stepping up in leadership on our board and in our spiritual community. Today, Monica is holding things down. She's our producer and our anchor, and that's actually every day. Thank you, Monica. She is our producer and our anchor, and she will also be giving you some announcements a little bit later today. I am grateful to welcome Reverend Masando Hiraoka. He is an assistant minister at the Mile High Center in Denver, Colorado. So he's a couple hours ahead of us over there. And he feels like an extended member of our family. Really grateful to welcome you. He is the Social Uplift Ministry Director at Mile High, and he is a powerful, wonderful human being. And he has a great message to share with us today about our spiritual vision. And then finally, supporting us in deepening and growing today is Faith Rivera, who's in Hawaii. This online thing is great. Reverend Masando's in Colorado. I know we have somebody here from Ohio this morning. Faith is in Hawaii, and we never could have done this pre-COVID-19. So let's count at least one blessing. So grateful to welcome you, Faith Rivera. I was looking at your website, Faith, and I saw that picture of you with a t-shirt that says "Love is my career," and that is such a great t-shirt. Like, love is my career. She said she's spreading love one song at a time, and that is indeed, Faith, what you do. She's an Emmy-winning singer and songwriter, and we are grateful to have her with us this morning to anchor us in spirit with the soundtrack. So Faith, I think you have a song for us.
I do. Aloha again. It's my joy to be with you. And right now we all have the same job, love. And to let that love light rise through us. So this is Rise. I close my eyes. I open my heart. I take a deep breath. Let the healing start. I lift my hands, I plant my feet, I let love in, I feel the beat that's calling, calling, calling us to rise, rise, Spirit rise up. Rise in me. I ready my soul. I clear my mind. I'm here and now. In present time, I feel the power of 1,000 suns. Lighted up the dark. Oh, we rise as one, oh, rise, rise, Spirit, rise. rise in me, rise in me. I sing to you, I sing to you, you sing to me, you sing to me. Change up this noise, make sweet harmony. Come on and rise. We sing, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh, rise, oh, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me, rise in me. Heart to heart, heart to heart, hand in hand, hand in hand, no turning back, onward to promised land. Do you feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark? Oh, we rise as one. Love's calling, calling out your name. Love's calling, that's why we came. Love's calling, calling out your name. Love's calling, it's why we came. Come on and rise, oh rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh rise, yes, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me, rise in me, rise in me. Oh, rise in me.
And so breathing, we feel our chests rise, our bodies expand into a greater awareness of the infinite presence that we call God. The presence of infinite love, infinite power, infinite grace, right where we are, breathing us and moving us and having its being in and as and through us. And so we find ourselves in consciousness and in fact, fully unified with all of the infinite being. It's grace, it's power, it's wisdom right where we are. And we simply open our hearts and minds to this truth this day as we allow the spiritual community we share to wash over us, to bless us, the music, the message, the gathering, to open our hearts even further to a greater expression of the living one. And so I give thanks for the opportunity, and I give thanks for those who have said yes to providing this experience this morning. And I declare and I know that we each give our own sacred yes to the awakening it provides. And so I open this time together with a grateful heart, knowing it is unfolding perfectly and divinely and according to the glory of God. And so it is. Amen. I'm going to read through today's affirmation once. As I read through it, I invite you to just be open to its power, be open to the message. We know that in the beginning was the word, and here are some words for you to anchor in for the beginning of something new. Steeped in the wisdom of the ages, I rest in this moment, at peace with all that is. I live what matters, and I humbly resolve to evolve. And so it is. Breathe that in. Own it. And I invite you now with conviction to read these words aloud with me wherever you are. Steeped in the wisdom of the ages, I rest in this moment at peace with all that is. I live what matters, and I humbly resolve to evolve. And so it is.
Today is the day I will change my luck. I will find 3 pennies and there'll be heads up. I will walk like a queen in my tennies and jeans, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. Today is the day I'll remember to see only God, only good happening through you and me. I will not forget all the treasures due me, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. Oh, today is the day I'll be more of myself, love my skin where I've been and everyone else. No more push, no more pull, simply flow as I go, 'cause I know where I come from. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the stars and the sun, from that magical one, I am part of this thing called life, yeah. From the known to unseen, everything in between, I am part of this thing called life. I am one with this thing called life. I am loved, oh so loved, by this thing called life.
It is so amazing to be sharing space with Faith Rivera. I'm just a huge fan. My mom just texted me that apparently Faith stayed with them. I think I was away at college when she came. But I've just been a huge fan for so long, and it's just amazing, yeah, that she could be in Hawaii and I can be here in Colorado, and you all can be, you know, across the country, but probably mostly there in Seattle, Washington area. What a crazy time. What an amazing time we are living in. And it's just so good to be back with you again today. Yes, it does feel like I'm becoming a part of the family there. I always get so excited when I can come back and join you again. And I can actually feel us like inching closer to the day when I can maybe come and visit you in person. It doesn't feel like a far distant future thing anymore. So, you know, anticipating that, and can't wait to meet you all in person very soon. So how are you all? Did you have a good week? Did you tune into the inauguration? It was definitely a historic moment in many ways, as we saw our first woman, our first African American, our first Asian American in Kamala Harris take the role of vice president, who was sworn in by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who's the first Latina woman ever to serve on the nation's highest court. That was definitely a powerful moment. And gratefully, we saw a peaceful transition of power. It's just an incredibly vital and important tradition that, honestly, until this year, I've taken for granted. Uh, and it's an incredible feat, when you think about it, that we've had a peaceful transition time and time and time again over our history as a country. And I think it speaks to the integrity of our democracy and moreover to its people, right, that have taken part in and supported this peaceful process for so many years. I know that there are some of us Americans that are feeling joyful and excited about how we are moving forward as a country, right? Like there's a feeling of hope and excitement. And there are others of us, right, who might be feeling sad or scared or unhappy with the direction our country may be going. Perhaps not to the extent that the insurrectionists had when they attacked the Capitol a couple of weeks ago. Like, I think we were all horrified by the act of terror and have drawn a line around the violence that happened that day. And we really mourn those lives that were lost, right? In such a heinous act of mob mentality and misinformation. But I know many are feeling nervous right now, right? I know that as we move forward and then we look ahead, that there is a very real feelings surrounding that. So I don't want to dismiss that or dismiss the real fear and anxiety that might be present for many right now. But like this is the story of America, right? Like every 2 and 4 years, there are winners of elections and losers of elections. And those results create hope and joy for some and sadness and anxiety for others, right? Sometimes it feels as if there's just like this continual pendulum that is simply swinging back and forth or left and right. And yet, if we see ourselves not as a country divided by political party, not as one that is continually vying for power and winning no matter what the cost, we can see a story that is ultimately one of continual evolution and growth, right? Of an American experiment that is still being worked on, that is striving to continually become a more perfect union, that is always changing and growing through its people, right? Which is, in fact, the only way that it can change, the only way that it can evolve. If we see our country as a living, breathing entity, just as complex and vibrant and vital as any person, just as full of hubris and mistakes and messiness, just like all of us. Perhaps we can treat our country like we treat those we have come to love in our lives, allowing it to unfold with great love, with compassion, with fierce dedication, and with undying trust. And with the ability to know that the last chapter and this chapter and future chapters are all woven together in the story of who we are, who we've been, and who we're becoming. Our theme this week, looking ahead, is looking ahead. And as we spent time this month preparing for this year by recognizing our connection to the ancient wisdom of the past, as we take in stock of where we are here now, and as we begin looking ahead, there is a story that is unfolding in our lives, right? The story of how the divine is continually evolving through us. We have a little blackboard in our house that my wife Rebecca wrote on her latest. I'm not sure if it's like an original quote or someone else's, but I saw it this morning and it reminded me of this. It says, "My life is the story of God and what she does in a human heart." This story of the divine is not over, right? The story of America is still unfolding. And as we look ahead this week, right, like as we begin writing the story of this next chapter, my sincere hope is that we do not quickly jump into what's next without taking with us the wisdom we have gained from the last chapter and the chapters that came before that, how it all began and how it's all connected to the story that we are still writing today. I think I've learned in my life that and through times and through the themes this month that we really need to take some time to realize and recognize our connection to the past and even the dark places of our past so that we can fully become present to how that past may still be operating, right? So that we can look ahead towards a future that is informed by the wisdom of what's come before, that allows the joyful successes and the regrettable mistakes, right, to move us forward to complete the wholeness of who we are. I can remember the times that I spent before I met my wife, like doing all this prayer work around relationship, right? I remember being ready for it and spending years around doing prayer work, around finding a true partner and partnership in life, like around opening myself to the possibility in a bigger way than I ever had before. Like all of my prayer work, all of my intention setting was around this. All I was doing was looking ahead towards this like somewhat ethereal hope and prayer for my life, right? And despite all my energy and effort, it just wasn't happening. Like I found myself either not in a relationship, or the relationships I was in like just seemed to like bizarrely mirror the relationships I've had in the past. Like that there was something in me that was still reproducing my experience, no matter who I was actually in relationship with. Like, has anyone also experienced this in their own life? Like, I'm so grateful to those exes that put up with me during that time. I can remember, like through all this, like a critical moment when I was getting super frustrated and distraught, like when I began questioning my faith in all this woo-woo prayer stuff. When my friend and prayer practitioner helped me realize, like the reason why it wasn't working or panning out for me is because I still needed to do some healing. In fact, like that there were energies still operating within me that I thought I had dealt with, but were in fact still a part of my subconscious mind, still had some roots in my heart, right? Like still operating in me. So I was invited to pause on my incessant and almost compulsive need to look ahead and bring some conscious focus to the healing of my past relationships, like healing of some places within. I still needed to forgive in a deeper way, forgive my past partners and forgive myself. I needed to reclaim my wholeness in a deeper way through really taking accountability for my peace and the reasons why my former relationships hadn't worked out. I hadn't done that. And I needed to take some real time in doing this before I could look ahead, before I could move forward with the kind of vision that is informed by, that is infused with the wisdom that can only come with this kind of inquiry and with that kind of healing. This is all to say, right? Like that as we began to look forward in our lives, and as we began to create visions of what can be for ourselves, for our families, for our country, we can't always simply bypass the things that are still calling out for healing as we look ahead, right? We cannot simply block out our rearview mirror as we see some of the things that are still calling for our attention, just cruising along right behind us, just following us into our present and into our future. I realize that it calls for a brave and beautiful kind of honesty with ourselves, and through that, allowing for a place of inquiry that opens up a space for healing. In his book, Living the Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us in the chapter entitled, Let Us Not Fool Ourselves, he says this, he says, in the science of mind, we do not say everything is all right when it is all wrong. We do not say peace when there is no peace, but rather we try to discover what is wrong and why we do not have peace. This all has really reminded me of how I see this racial reckoning, right? This waking up to the systems of inequity and systemic racism that is still present in our country. Like, this is how I see what is happening and what we're all going through together. Like, it is challenging to look at these things, but these challenges and the challenge itself is calling us into a space of seeing clearly what is not working, right? And into a question of what is getting in the way of peace, as Dr. Holmes articulated. Amanda Gorman, in her poem that she performed at the inauguration, the youngest inaugural poet ever, she says this, she says, we've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours. Before we knew it, somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. It seems like you're coming around again in this evolutionary spiral called life, right? Some 50 or 60 years after the civil rights movement, in which this kind of racial reckoning is being called to happen again, right? I know some may be thinking, like, I thought we had done this already. Like, I thought we had already addressed inequality. Similar to what we may have thought, like, about some of the theme in our lives that is coming up for healing. Like, I thought I had done this work already. Like, I thought I had already healed this. And we have done this work before, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, the work of the civil rights movement was incredibly powerful, but we are being called to be present to and to be a part of writing this next chapter, right? We were being called to dive back into this horrible wound of systemic inequality and oppression in a deeper and collective way, in which we can, learn the true history of racism in our country that maybe was not taught to us in school. So we can really clearly see how it has continued on through our institutions in overt and covert ways, and how we may be helping to perpetuate the systems of inequity without even realizing it. How racism can exist now in systems and institutions without overt racists ever even being present within them. They've just been inherited. It's these places in our society that are calling out for healing as we look ahead. It's this kind of growth that we are being called into. It's this beautiful and often painful, and without a doubt, but requiring us to do the deep work as a society, this kind of space of accountability, right? That can open up a space for healing and for us to move forward without repeating the mistakes of the past. So how do we do this? Like, how do we begin this healing process individually within ourselves and collectively as a nation? There's this amazing book that came out just recently this year. It's called See No Stranger, A Manifesto of Revolutionary Love by Valerie Kaur. Valerie is one of my personal heroes right now. Like, I have a huge crush on the kind of spiritual leader that she is. She's a badass. She's a filmmaker, activist, lawyer, teacher, and a leader in her Sikh faith. The practice she invites us into is a practice of wonder. If you happen to be someone who may not fully understand the protest that culminated after George Floyd's death this summer, if you're someone who may not have a personal relationship with people that are directly affected by systemic racism, or perhaps you are someone who may still have some resistance to talking about race or injustice, or perhaps just someone who wants to know what to do about it all, asking yourself, like, what's mine to do? I think this practice of wonder can be helpful for all of us. And here's what Valerie Kaur has to say. She says, it is easy to wonder about the internal life of people closest to us. It's harder to wonder about people who seem like strangers or outsiders. But when we choose to wonder about people we don't know, when we imagine their lives and listen for their stories, we begin to expand the circle of those we see as a part of us. We prepare ourselves to love beyond what evolution requires. The call to love beyond our own flesh and blood is ancient. It echoes down to us on the lips of indigenous leaders, spiritual teachers, and social reformers through the centuries. Guru Nanak called us to see no stranger, Buddha to practice unending compassion, Abraham to open our tent to all, Jesus to love our neighbors, Muhammad to take in the orphan, Mirabai to love without limit. They all expanded the circle of who counts as one of us, and therefore worthy of our care and concern. These teachings were rooted in the linguistic and cultural context of the time, but they spoke of a common vision of our interconnectedness and interdependence. It is the Sanskrit truth that we can look upon anyone or anything and say, Tattvam Asi, I am that. It is the African philosophy, Ubuntu, I am because you are. It is the Mayan precept in Lak'ech, you are my other me. What has been an ancient spiritual truth is now increasingly verified by science. We are all indivisibly part of one another. We share a common ancestry with everyone and everything alive on earth. The air we breathe contains atoms that have passed through the lungs of ancestors long dead. Our bodies are composed of the same elements created deep inside the furnaces of long dead stars. We can look upon the face of anyone or anything around us and say, as a moral declaration and spiritual, cosmological, and biological fact, you are a part of me I do not yet know. We are a part of each other that we do not yet know. I am because you are. When listening to the stories of injustice of our fellow community members of color, I invite you into this place of wonder that is rooted in our oneness. I invite you into that kind of empathetic and empathic experience that actually brings you into communion with the divine and with the ancient wisdom and teachers of our past, of the previous chapters of our story. Through wonder, we all commune with God and with the great spiritual teachers that Cora illuminated in her story. There's a famous quote by Dr. Ernest Holmes that is often brought up in conversations that I've had with other folks in the spiritual community and the New Thought community around the topic of social justice and our role in taking action in our communities. The quote comes from one of Holmes' last talks, the Sermon by the Sea, and it was given in a Silomar just 8 months before his death. The quote that's always quoted says, "Find me one person who is for something and against nothing." Right? This quote, when read on its own, outside of context, often can be interpreted like as an instruction for us to see always like to seek to always only be like for something and against nothing, right? Yeah, when we look at the context of the quote, I think we can get a deeper look into what he was seeking to communicate. He says, "Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their own soul. And I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being." This quote really got me this week, especially as we began looking ahead, right? Like, it's abundantly clear that there is a toxic partisan divide in our country. It often feels as if people are like living in two different worlds. And they've even heard the word civil war far too many times in this past couple of years. It seems to have touched all of our lives. Like, who among us has not lost a relationship to a friend or a family member or a coworker because of this division, right? Like, I think it's touched us all. And when I think about this quote, for me, it speaks more to the story of redemption, right? More than anything else. Find me one person who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their own soul, and I will have found another Savior, another Jesus. Now, I know there are probably many people here who have been wounded by Christianity in some way. I often hear the term recovering Christian in our New Thought centers. And perhaps this idea of redemption is for you some idea that like you were born a sinner and that fiery abyss of punishment waits for all of us who not follow some rigid dogma, or that in order to be saved, you have to accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. And perhaps that just doesn't resonate with you. Or moreover, perhaps it's actually created some sort of spiritual wound in you. Like, I want to honor you in that. But I also want to invite us all into like a metaphysical interpretation of redemption here. So that, I hope that we all can recover. Speaking of recovery, I hope that we can recover our own connection with our religious upbringing, especially if it's created a wound in some way. Like, for me, redemption is like this almost illogical, grace-filled ability and rediscovering our way back to ourselves and to one another. It is rooted in the deep belief that no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what words have been said or emotions mindlessly acted upon, there is always this ability to be redeemed. Like there's this always this opportunity to make things right, to take accountability for what is yours, to invite others into that same accountability, and to let go of the pieces that might not be yours to own, to learn from our past, and to ultimately, through that, be seen in the eyes of the divine as whole and perfect and complete, no matter what. To see ourselves in the same way is the spiritual awakening. And to see others in this way is the spiritual fulfillment, right? Like it's the manifestation of this awakening. As we navigate this partisan divide, like as we seek to look forward and create a vision of peace, a vision of equity, a vision of a world that works for all, my sincere hope and prayer is that we do so with a redemptive heart. There may be people in your life, right? Like who you feel you don't even know anymore. Perhaps you've cut ties with. And listen, I want to honor the boundaries of saying goodbye to toxic people in your life. Like, I want to be clear about that. But I also want to invite us into the spirit of that master teacher, Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, who became the Christ through this radically unconditional love, who spoke out fiercely against injustice, but never demonized the person committing the injustice. I want to invite us into the spirit of Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha through his realization of the interconnectedness of life and the compassion that has to follow from that. I invite us into the spirit of Muhammad, who became a prophet through the love of his people and his fierce love of God, and into the spirit of Mirabai, who loved without bounds. Spirit is not only always available to us, like it's always here, but it's a part of who we are. It's our birthright to experience this kind of redemptive spirit, right? Like in ourselves and in each other. So as we look ahead and we begin doing the work of healing, of finding our way back to one another, may we do so with the kind of heart that stays open to our own ability to be redeemed, that we can be redeemed no matter what. And through that, through our ability to allow others to be redeemed in our own heart as well. To see ourselves and each other with the ability to always be able to come back, right? Like we can always come back. We can come back to love. We can come back to truth. We can come back to the spirit of the divine that lives not just within us and not just in everyone and everything, but also between us. This all reminds me of Dr. Martin Luther King and his principles of nonviolence. And I think those principles help us to remember some of these things. I want to share the first few principles of nonviolence with you because I think it's relevant to this conversation. He says, nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. It is active, nonviolent resistance to evil. Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. The end result of nonviolence is redemption and reconciliation. And nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Nonviolence recognizes that evildoers are also victims. So may we then not be like for something and against nothing, for I don't think I can live my life without speaking out against injustice or harm or abuse or anything that causes suffering to another, right? But I can be for something and against no one. I can recognize that I am because you are. I can recognize that I may not agree with what you have said or even with what you've done, but I'm going to see you as whole. I'm going to see you as a fellow human being whose my life is deeply interconnected to. And then we can disagree. We can even battle and fight it out sometimes. But at the end of the day, you are part of me I do not yet know. And there is a part of my experience with you that has this ability to awaken me more deeply to the divine. So I want to close today with an excerpt. It's in fact the last lines of the inaugural poet Amanda Gorman's piece. I don't know if everybody got to see this. I know I will not be able to perform it with the same spirit as she. I was just in tears when she was reading this. But I hope, right? I hope these words may serve as reflection, as guidance, and as inspiration as we look ahead. Here's the inaugural poet Amanda Gorman's closing words. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes upon us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while we once asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. So let's ground everything that has come forth today in a little bit of prayer as we close this time. So I invite all of us, wherever we are, whenever we are, to come so deeply into this present moment that we find ourselves able to hold this juxtaposition of learning the hard lessons from our past and allowing that to give us wisdom so that our visions for the future can be infused with all that has come before. So that we do not bypass our way around the things that are not so pleasant to look at or to realize, but in fact, we take that in and make that food medicine. We allow it to become a healing agent for us as we move forward, as we look ahead, so that everything that has come before can become a blessing. I'll just move into a place where the experience of the divine is waking us up in every moment of redemption, of every moment we open up our hearts a little bit more in ways that we do not want to, but ways we know we must. So that the spirit of the divine can continue to work through us as we continue writing the history of this nation and continue writing the story of our lives, so that what we pass on to our children is something that we can be proud of and know that we did our best to live so fully in this time that what we pass on, we know will not be perfect, but know has our stamp upon it. And so what I know for each one of us is, as we look ahead, we do so it fully infused with the power and strength of the divine, so that we see no stranger, so that we see no enemy, and instead see the divine beauty that emanates from each person, and allow that spirit of redemption to help us find our way back to one another. Let us hold ourselves and each other accountable for all that has come, all that is happening, and all that is yet to be, so that we may be building a future of togetherness, so that we may be building a future that is rooted in hope, so that we may be building a future that is informed with the spirit of the divine. And so we just have so much thanks as we move forth from this time, knowing that every step, every chapter, every page, every word, and every breath has been blessed. And with that, we know that we can become a blessing. So we let it be. We let it become, and we let it be so. And so it is. Amen.
There are times in my life when I am stronger than I've ever been. Ooh, there are times in my life when I believe I can do no wrong. Oh, there are moments that I wish I can believe I am shining brighter. Sister, get up, yeah. Believe and know that you can be. Brother, remember who you are. Be strong. Hold tight to that vision, 'cause no one can ever take it away from you. Be strong and live your life with passion. You've got to keep on and hold tight to your vision. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, there are mountains to climb, more songs to sing, and tears to be cried. Ooh, there be moments of loss, moments of winning, a lifetime of love. If I just keep in my mind without any doubt that I am flying higher. Sister, get up, believe and know that you can be. Brother, you've got to know who you are. Be strong, hold tight to that vision, 'cause no one can ever take it away from you. Be strong, live your life with passion. You've got to keep on and hold tight to your vision. This is your moment to rise up. You know the sun's coming out, your new life starting now. Can't keep you down, your spirit's rising. Oh, be strong, hold tight to that vision. Keep on. Ooh, you got to be born and live your life with passion. You've got to keep on and hold tight to surrender
Good morning. Faith, thank you so much. Reverend Masando, thank you so much. We've come to the time in our service where we give of our love offerings and tithes, where we rise up, where we hold strong to the vision, and where we look ahead with your Board of Trustees to the budget for 2021 that we approved in this last week. This is a time where we know how blessed we are to be together virtually with this amazing technology. I would love you to join me in our offering affirmation. On the screen right now, there are all the ways that you can bless us with your financial gifts. Please join me in our offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
And so I give thanks for the bounty of the universe that provides so effortlessly and abundantly for our beloved center. And I give thanks for those channels of the divine, the people who show up in our realm, God with hands and feet, who support this ministry so beautifully and so lovingly. I give thanks for the gift, for the giver, for the infinite, and I consecrate these gifts to the beautiful use, the good use of this center, and to doing a great and mighty good in the world through the gift of our own tithe. I am so very grateful, and so it is. Amen.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Monica McDowell. Hey, I've got Bernie here. Bernie's going to help me out. He's everywhere this week, so we're going to have him help me out with my announcements. I'm Monica McDowell. I'm our center administrator. We welcome everyone. We especially welcome you if you are new. We invite you to walk with us as we look ahead into new possibilities that oneness brings for us. The best way to stay in touch with us right now is through our weekly e-newsletter. Everything is online. And so if you go to our website, unityofbellevue.org, and at the bottom of every page is a sign up for that e-newsletter. You can also go to our I'm New page on our website, and you can push the button for a welcome packet for some free gifts from us. Everything I'm going to announce is I've put in the chat all the links, all the connections that you can make from so that you can find where I am talking about when I'm announcing. First of all, this is the last opportunity to sign up for Reverend Marla's great class, The Essential Ernest Holmes. That's happening on Wednesday evenings at 6:30. I'll also be teaching a workshop coming up in February on writing, using your intuition to connect with that creative genius inside of you so you know how to write. So look into both of those. Also this Wednesday, 1 p.m. is our weekly drop-in spiritual practice group with Reverend Marla, Living What Matters. That's at 1 p.m. It's free. It's a drop-in group. We're using the Book of Soul by Mark Nepo, and you can order that on our website bookstore. We also have a new Facebook group. It's private. It's just for our Unity of Bellevue family. It's a way to facilitate communication during this time and a place to put personal news and Unity of Bellevue news. So join us, ask to join if you would like to be a part of that. And Dorothy has an announcement for us today.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Monica, and thank you for inviting Bernie to our sacred service today. So speaking of love, as Faith and Reverend Masando have done so eloquently today, we have love gifts that you can purchase as a way to financially support Unity of Bellevue, but more importantly, to bless somebody this coming Valentine's. The page will be up later this week, Wednesday, we expect. You can buy a base gift bag, which has love affirmations, a stuffed animal, some Valentine's treats, and there are also add-ons, including sparkling cider Prosecco and Molly Moon's ice cream gift card. So please check out the website later this week. And there will be full details, including the prices and the delivery dates and the pickup times for those of you who are able to pick them up. So more to come, but please join us in celebrating Valentine's Day, blessing your friends and loved ones, or maybe yourself and Unity of Bellevue. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorothy. I will have more information on the website up hopefully by Tuesday at the very latest. And you can look for that in our newsletter and as well. Coming up after the celebration service, we'll take a 3-minute break, but then there is a prayer circle with our prayer chaplains, Jan Kalin and Lynn Zeller. If you have any prayer requests, we invite you to join us for that confidential circle. You can also email them at the address in the link. We also have sent out a membership renewal via email to those members of you. I've included the link here. Just a reminder to get that in. You might want to look in your spam email box to find that. It's an easy way to just fill out a Breeze form and your membership has been renewed. Thank you for that, allowing Bernie to be here. And Reverend Marla, back to you.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment to say a final word of gratitude to Faith Rivera, who provided such a powerful soundtrack this morning. Thank you, Faith. We're grateful to have you. And Reverend Masando, you've given me pause. I'm so grateful that you are here to challenge us to open and think and learn and grow and ponder and pray and all of those beautiful things that we do to open our hearts more fully to truth. So thank you for a powerful message this morning. I'm so grateful. Let's close with our prayer for protection. Stick around for prayer circle. Drop in on Wednesday for our drop-in group. You can come even if you don't have the book. I look forward to seeing you there. Many blessings and much love to everyone. Please join me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great week, everybody. I'm grateful for you. Bye-bye.
Another chance to say a word that's kind. Another chance to feel joy inside the life we live. Another chance to leave the past behind. Another chance to forgive every single moment of our life. chance